my name in at intermission. So here I am. So when I was 16, there was this shop that opened up in my little neighborhood. I lived in like a small suburb right outside Philadelphia. And I remember when they were opening up the place, I knew that I was going to work there. And I met the owners. I was like 15, going on 16, and they gave me this job. And right around this time, I was like having my first existential crisis, you know, wondering about what am I going to be, how do you make it in this world. I was what you call LD, learning disabled, so I had a few problems at school. I wasn't the best student, and I kind of just knew going into adulthood, when I was on the edge of my adolescence, that I was going to have a challenge, how to make it in this world doing what I love. I didn't want to have to work doing something that I hated. So at this place where I worked, I met artists. The first real artists I ever met. Painters, writers, all kinds. And they were wild, and they were crazy, and they were totally fucked. They had crazy lives, you know, but they were totally different from everybody else. And I admired them so much. And I said, like, how do they do it, you know? Like, how do you... Because I thought I wanted to be Bob Dylan. I wanted to be, you know, someone that like was able to like go across the country with $10 and hitchhike, and I'd make it to like, you know, wherever it was, and I would just get famous, and it would be okay. You know, like and if it wasn't going to be that, I had no other plan. So I was really in trouble. So I remember there was one girl there. Her name was Mercedes, and I idolized Mercedes. She was flawed in many ways. Unfortunately, the father of her child had a drug overdose, and she was just had all sorts of problems. But I still loved her. And so one day, she had always asked me to come over her house, but I was afraid. I was intimidated by her because she was an oil painter. She was a lot older than me, and I kind of like I thought she was sexy, and I kind of really liked her. But I was young, and I didn't want to risk any failure, you know. So like to enter into her world was like man, I'd really be diving in the deep end. But there was this one day, there was this huge snowstorm, and she said, Reed, it was like during work, she said, come over after work, I want to show you my paintings. So I was like, damn. So I walked home, and it was like snowing, it was real surreal. The entire time, I was really nervous, and I started making excuses why she was too fucked up to go to her house. You know, because I knew that she was like 30, but she slept with some guy that was my age. Okay, so I mean, on one hand that was good, but on the other hand that was bad, because I was like, she doesn't have her shit together. Right? The other part was that she was just so out there. It was great to see from afar, but like to get up close to it, it makes you nervous, you know, like you don't want to touch the fire. So, anyway, I walk up into her apartment, and like I said, the whole way up the apartment, so I'm just thinking to myself, like, you know, I admire these people, like I want to be an artist, you know, I don't want to work at some corporate, like, building in Berwyn, you know, like, just, like, in some cube. I don't want to fucking do that. I want to do this. So I walk in her apartment, and she has one room like this, just filled with these huge paintings, like amazing paintings. And I'd never seen that, just a room full of paintings. She had another room that just had like toys and shit. Like, I guess toys her like weird friends would bring over when they were doing acid, just like weird things in there, like a couch and some like lava lamps, and I was like, that's awesome, whatever that is. Then there was her bedroom, which was, you know, what you would expect. There was shit everywhere. The bed wasn't made. You know, it was just really weird and dirty. And then I got to her kitchen, and her kitchen was like literally this big, like my arm going back. It was small. The stove was from 1950, and it was bad. It was not like good, you know. It was not what I had hoped. It was not what I had hoped if I had become like her, mirrored her, like, but the male version that like this was, you know. And then we sat down at this table, and it overlooked my neighborhood, and there was all this snow, and it was beautiful. And I sat there, and I looked at her, and she was drinking her coffee, and I was drinking my coffee, and it occurred to me that she paid for this place, that this was her livelihood, this was her rent. And it occurred to me that she made a life for herself, weird as it was, dirty as it was, inside this little apartment on the top of a pizza place. And I looked out the window and I knew that I had arrived. I knew that I was going to be okay. That no matter what, even if I didn't have money, that I was going to be able to pay rent. And that if I could pay rent, I could have my own place. If I had my own place, I could do what I wanted. And I could at least live, and I could be free, and I could make my way, and that's it. I was free.